this might be one of my longer ones. So pop the kettle on, make a brew, and have a biscuit. Hey folks, it's Finn and Pip. Welcome back, lovely people. It's lovely to see you again. Thank you so much for tuning in to another video. And if you are tuning in for the very first time, then a massive welcome and thank you so much for clicking on one of my videos and choosing to watch. I hope it's the first of many and you become a subscriber, and if so, then welcome to the Finn fam. So today's video, as promised in my last video, is all about my goals for the year ahead. And the reason I'm doing those air quotes things is because, as I said in my last video, I don't really do goals as such. Now, I've explained this before in a very old video, but what I said in that video probably still pretty much stands. So I am going to link that video here as to why I don't do goals. But in a nutshell, really, especially New Year, it's a big time of pressure. We're all still getting over Christmas. And I just think it's proven anyway that most New Year's resolutions fail. It's the wrong time of year to be setting yourself these massive hard goals. To be a bit more gentle. And also these really big hard goals are often not really thought about, broken down, measured, and we just set ourselves up to fail, which leads into this cycle of feeling bad about ourselves. Also, for the purposes of what I talk about here, in terms of mental health, chronic illness, gender transition, LGBT stuff, we're all battling, struggling, working with problems already and having to manage stuff on a daily basis. So lumping in loads of other stuff to deal with as well is a lot to ask. So hard goals really are out. I much prefer to work with aims and intentions because they can also be tweaked as we travel. So short-term aims and intentions, we can kind of move forward a few steps and think, actually, now I've got this far and I've changed a bit, I actually feel this way, or actually I've tried this but I've got too much else going on, I'm backing off a bit. You know, it's much more kind and gentle. There you go. That's a synopsis of my beliefs, but do check out the other video I mentioned for a more kind of detailed way of how I feel about aims, intentions, goals, focus, and how I kind of goal plan, in inverted commas, because I do still have plans and stuff. It's just as somebody with chronic illness, of course, it's very different because I can't have goals. You know, I can think, next week I'm going to do X, Y, Z and I want to achieve X, Y, Z. And then I have an ME flare and, you know, I can't do the thing. And then I feel really bad. And that's not a good way to live, is it? You know, so no. So I digress. So this is how I'm going for things this year. I'm having a general focus of the year, but I'm also going to base all of my kind of aims and intentions around a feeling this year, a way I want to feel. And this is kind of based on really how I don't currently feel at the moment. So, as most of you know who have been following over, especially the last couple of years, it's been really tough, you know. It has just been tough, hasn't it? You know, I've gone through a lot over the last kind of 13 years since getting clean and sober, and then trying to rebuild my life, discovering I was trans, you know, having a whole new outlook on life, in like recovering from my really poor mental health and addiction, going through transition, like really starting again at the age of kind of 39, like going to uni, trying to build my own business. It's been a lot going on, and then getting chronic illness. It's just been a lot, a real lot to cope with. And then in the last kind of 5 or 6 years, just becoming really poorly with this chronic illness. And then last couple of years, it's just been really awful in, you know, just not getting the support, which a lot of people with invisible illnesses come up against, especially with something like ME, CFS. And with the awful benefit system and the awful thing that happened around the tribunal that so many people have to go to when you apply for personal independence payment, and often universal credit as well. When you apply for personal independence payment, as I did, all the lies that were happening around what happened at the assessment that didn't happen, having to go to tribunal. Luckily I won that, but it was just a huge stress, the huge trauma that went with that, the medical gaslighting that I had with my previous doctor, this medical gaslighting that's still going on, trying to get different things diagnosed and treated. It's just been a lot has gone on. And on top of that, trying to deal with the grief of the life I thought I was going to have at the end of my transition, the business I was building up and doing really well as a writer and speaker, and all of these things that were going so well that now I can't do. It's just a lot, isn't it? It's a lot to deal with. And last year I had some really intense therapy, this tapping therapy that I've now forgot the name of. Is it EMT? I'm going to have to write it on the bottom again. Is it emotional freedom technique? Whatever it was, it's basically tapping alternately, going back to your past, and then memories come up. It's really, really difficult. All to do with trauma, and it's just been really hard. That's finished now, but it's left a lot of stuff that's come up. I need more therapy to deal with what's come up. So that was last year. All of the stuff around the benefit denial brought up a lot of stuff, made my mental health take a nosedive. So, it's just been hard, really hard. Last year, what I tried to do sensibly was really scale down my work so that, I could give myself a break and concentrate on the therapy. And I tried to find a balance, like doing a little bit of work whilst trying to get myself well, trying to get myself out a bit more whilst trying to do the therapy. And you know what? It got to the end of last year and I really hadn't got myself out and about much more, even though I'd got this much better wheelchair. I'd been doing a lot of therapy and that was going well, but I was still trying to do some work and still having lots of crashes. And this has led me to this year and this conclusion that I've come to this year, that I cannot do both. I simply cannot, at least at the moment, have the best of both worlds. Slimming down work just wasn't enough. I have to prioritize my health and well-being this year. This is what I have to do. For now, work has to come last. If you've been following my Substack newsletter, if you haven't, I'll put a link up to that as well. I've been talking a lot about how now I'm changing my view of my YouTube, my writing and everything back to hobby. So I'm not looking at it as business anymore. It's just hobby now, to take the kind of pressure off that, it's now got to be that I just make a video when my energy allows. I write a newsletter when my energy allows, a blog post when my energy allows. Any work I do has got to be low energy, no demand, and it has to come last. I have to do the stuff that's about my well-being first, and any energy left over then goes on videos, writing, work-related stuff, hobby-related stuff, And that's really difficult to say because I love the stuff I do. I really, really love making videos. I like writing content. I've got a really good membership base now. There's lots of people that interact with me on the Discord membership forum that we've got. I love all of that. I love making behind the scenes content for you all, but I really can't do that to any deadline now. And that's how it's going to have to be going forward. At the moment, I'm going to have to just prioritize well-being, and then whenever there's energy left over, use that for anything else. And that's how it's got to be. And perhaps after a period of time doing this, I'll be able to have more of a kind of balance and do a bit of both. This is going to mean no speaking work, because that's my biggest earner. But unfortunately, it really does take so much out of me, because I have to rest so deeply before I do it, because speaking for an hour takes so much out of me, and then I have to rest afterwards, you know. I don't just kind of turn up and talk. I always tweak a talk for whoever I'm doing it for. It's the concentration, because you've heard me on here lots of times how I fall over my words. The concentration it takes to not do that is so hard. On here, if I fall over my words, I don't worry about it. I just let it happen, because, you know, we know each other well. I trust you all to not judge me. It's fine. And of course, I know in a speaking engagement, it's fine. People know that I've got ME, but I do my best to be professional. So, you know, I'm really concentrating and that much effort. So really, 1 hour speaking gig is 3 weeks lost, you know, because I have to rest for a week, rehearse for a few days and rewrite some stuff, and then do the talk, and then rest for a week. If it doesn't cause a flare, and then it might be 2 weeks, you know, so it takes a big chunk of time out. And then what that does is that means that I then can't do the stuff like going out with Pip round the block and things like that, you see. So any health, well-being stuff I might have planned to do goes. And this is what's been happening this last year. Any plans I've had to do any well-being stuff has just gone by the wayside because I've prioritised work. So this is where I'm at. I told you this was going to be a long vlog today, because I'm just going to be really honest about where I am and share it, you know. So yeah, this is where my focus is this year. My focus is on well-being. Prioritize that, everything else last. The feeling I want to get this year is one of greater independence and self-worth and self-esteem. Those are the feelings I want to focus on. Now, you might have seen on Instagram and in my Substack newsletter that I've been sharing about new adventures and joining some support groups. And that's because part of this focus is getting out. We moved to this house with this garden so that I could access my wheelchair and get out. Well, the scooter initially, then we changed to this wheelchair. And apart from the weekend when Chris is here, I'm not going anywhere still. You know, I make it around the block with this one once a fortnight, maybe, on my own. And that's it, you know. I've got to get out. I've got to, because this is really what's killing my self-esteem. My anxiety has got so much worse, my social anxiety. You know, this eats into my issues around feeling like a burden. I was asked by my counsellor, you know, about this thing of what do I feel like I bring to the relationship with Chris? And I couldn't answer. I said, I really don't know, because I feel like I don't bring anything because I'm not able to earn anymore, or I earn very little. So I just feel like a massive burden. I feel like this lump that sits on the sofa, you know, that when we go out, we've got to think about where we can go with the wheelchair. I feel like I have nothing to say when he comes in from work, because what do I do? You know, and it's all of this stuff. And so this is why I need to get out, you know. As I've said before, there is nothing bad about being dependent on someone. It's difficult when you've had a past where you've been a dependent person in a wrong way. I used to be very codependent in relationships, but this is different. Because of my illness, because of my mobility problems, I will be dependent on Chris for some things, and that's okay, and we understand that. I wouldn't eat a lot of the time if it wasn't for Chris. I wouldn't get out a lot of the time if it wasn't for Chris. But there is certain ways I can get a bit of independence back and then raise my self-esteem and my self-worth and feel like I've got more to bring to the relationship in that way, you know. And I want to talk more about this in a different vlog, because it started to happen. I've started to go to some groups, and it's felt amazing, and I can talk a bit more about that. But just for now, I want to talk about the plan first. So yeah, my aim is to get to more of these groups with the intention of these then raising my self-esteem, being part of a group, feeling valued, and just, just to feel like that independence of getting myself in on a bus, getting to town, going to a group, coming home. And the reason I've picked support groups to do this with is that it's no point trying to just hang out with regular folk. I do that in inverted commas because I can't keep up with regular folk. I need folk like me. And if I go to a mental health support group, it won't matter if I just go in the door, go hello, and then sit in the corner. No one's going to judge me. Even if I'm just sat around people, it'll do me good. And if I'm then slowly, gradually starting to speak to people, that's fine, because people will understand. So I need mental health support groups. And there is also a pain cafe that's set up round here as well for people with ME and fibromyalgia. So that's another good one to go to. I've also found a disabled swimming group. I'm not sure if this will work with me with ME, but I plan to just go and float with a waist belt and a noodle for mainly this pain in my arms, really, more than anything. So those are three things there. The pain cafe is once a month. The mental health support group is once a month. The swimming group is every week, but I plan to go once a month at the moment and see how I get on. And those are my three aims, to go to those as and when my health allows, in the hope of more self-confidence, more self-worth. So I've got something to talk to Chris about, and I just feel a bit more independent, rebuilding my life again. And that's why I've got to prioritise my well-being, because this requires deep rest. I've got to rest before I go to these things and then rest afterwards. So there's very little time left to do blogs, vlogs, talking and all of that, So those have got to come first. Whatever energy's left, I'll be making videos and whatever. Of course, there's still going to be them. It's just going to be the same as it is now, that it'll probably be every couple of weeks, and I'll be a bit slow to do them, but they're still going to happen. It's just got to be, they come second, if you see what I'm saying. So as well as the focus this year being on my well-being and the feelings I want to cultivate of self-worth, a greater sense of independence, and of course this really important one of divorcing my self-worth from my productivity. That's what I really have to work on, is get rid of the idea that my self-worth is about my productivity, because it isn't. That's something I'm constantly working on. But I'm really hoping as well that with this, more self-acceptance will happen around where I'm at, because that is still a problem. The grief and loss that's coming up around, just the way my life is, If I'm really honest, and I always am, there's a lot of not just sadness and grief, but a lot of envy, jealousy, that, I watch other people who are content creators. I look at other people who are authors and writers, and I know I could do what they are doing, but I can't because I'm poorly, and I get envious. And that's really hard. It's really hard knowing that you can do what people can do, but you also can't do it because of your current situation, and that's really hard. That's really, really, really difficult. I could write another book, but I can't because I'm just not well enough. I could make so many videos on so many things, but I can't because I'm just not well enough. And I see other people churning out stuff, and I'm like, ah. And I see other people writing books, and I'm like, ah. And all of that's so hard to manage. But I'm hoping that if my life becomes fuller and bigger with these groups and new friends and new experiences, and I start to feel really good about myself, because I don't at the moment. There's a lot of loss and a lot of, who am I now? Who am I? If I start to know who I am as this new person with this chronic illness, but my life is full, then I'll feel less loss and greater acceptance. That is really my plan. That's my mission this year. This is this is my new exciting adventure this year, you know, and I don't think I've been ready for this adventure until now. I think last year I was like, I want to gain more acceptance. But although I did, I was still hanging on to, but I want to do more work. I want to be more accepting, but I want to find a way to still do the work I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I was quite ready. I was saying I want more acceptance, but I wasn't really walking the path of being accepting. Whereas this year I really am. You know, the fact that I sat around and didn't make any content was because I was resting so I could go to a group. And my word, folks, I was biting at my knuckles to actually make you a New Year vlog, to check in and make you this one. But I've been deep resting so I could go to groups. Heads up for the next video, I've been to 2 groups and I'm going swimming this weekend. So that is why you've only just had the video about the check-in and you're only just getting this one now about the goals. So yeah, I'm stuck to the mission so far. So yes, please bear with me this year. The videos might be a little bit even more sporadic. It might even be a video a month. I don't really know because I can't actually say. But what I can promise is this is going to be an exciting adventure that I am going to share with you in what transpires through this, because I really want to do this. I really want to find a way to rebuild my life and find a way to be settled and peaceful with the way things are, you know, because I've shared so many times and it's so hard to explain this. I am one very happy, content man. Emphasis on the man, you know, to have gone through gender transition, to be the man I am, is what gives me the strength to carry on. My goodness, if I hadn't gone through gender transition, I don't think I'd be managing as well as I am now. You know, it gives me strength to carry on because I'm me and I'm settled in my own skin. But what I struggle with now is just knowing who I am in this huge life flip that I've had, in being much slower because of my chronic illness and having to use a mobility aid to get around, and not being able to do the things I wanted to do and finding out what I'm doing instead, you know, and that's my new goal, my new mission, and I want to share it with you. So there will be videos, there will be blogs. I'm really enjoying the Substack. I'm learning Dragon's speech to text software, which is also taking up a bit of time as well, but that's helping me to actually get my thoughts on paper, and that's how you're getting the Substack. So please do subscribe to my Substack, and that's another way to keep up with what's going on with me. But yes, this is another exciting adventure and I'm really looking forward to sharing it. And in the next video, I'm going to talk more specifically about the groups that I've joined, including some footage of me getting up the courage to actually get out and go to them for the first time. And I might even share a picture of my rather sexy, not waist float belt that I'm having to wear for this weekend's first swimming session, as a way to try and save some energy so that I don't harm myself by trying to swim, because I must just float and not swim to avoid post-exertional malaise. So yeah, watch this space for the next video. And by the way, do you like the new setup? I've just shifted myself over a bit. We've got rid of the IKEA chair, if you can see, and we've got 2 puffs. Yes, we now have 2 more puffs in this house. And I've moved over a little bit so you can always see Pip in the background. He's just got back from a walk. That's why he's not on his own, obviously. He did go with somebody. Don't just let him out of the house. So you can see him in the video all the time. So that, you know. Because as much as we love Lammy, we all have to accept now that Lammy is now safely up on a shelf, because it's just not safe, because he will eat him. So, you know, this is the new Lammy. He's fast asleep. So yeah, so the new setup, this rainbow, by the way, my good friend Natasha got me for Christmas. Isn't it beautiful? So yes, this new setup allows you to see Captain Pip Digby all the time. He's our replacement Lammy. I think he's much better, really, in a lot of ways. I mean, I can't put him in my bag, but he's always there and he gives hugs back, which is very nice. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent. Did tell you this was a long one, so I hope you had lots of nice biscuits to go with it. So yes, that's it from me. I will update you very soon on everything else. Don't forget to connect with me on social media, because that's yet another way to keep up with what's going on with us. Much love to you all. Take good care of yourselves, and I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.